Are you having me do this on TV?
Yeah.
This is terrible.
We're live right now, guys.
Already? Golly, time flies when we're having fun. So that was the fish pop exercise for those of you that are not in the know. My name is Shirley Gudkowski, and I am host of The Spot for Health, and this is where we let the community know where to go in Sun Prairie for health and for different ways of approaching health. And I have a couple of announcements today. I wanted to let you know what other guests we have coming up in the next few weeks. And those would be Dr. Peter Lakowski of the Wisconsin Dental Solutions. He's going to be talking with us about dentures, so that'll be interesting because we don't see dentures very much anymore. Daryl Lamprey of Capital Physical Therapy will be joining us in a couple of weeks. And we're going to have, you won't believe this, sauerkraut experts. Yes, sauerkraut experts will be here on The Spot for Health because sauerkraut is extremely healthful and very helpful in a number of different ways. I was listening to a podcast yesterday where the lady was talking about fermented foods and how they're kind of pre-digested and how they really release a lot more vitamins. So I'm super excited about having Jeff Sweebelman and Betty Holloway here from Symbiotics, and they use locally grown vegetables to make their sauerkraut and their other fermented foods, so that'll be super duper exciting. But even more exciting is today's guest, Angie Stone. Angie and I have been dental hygienists together for a long time, but we've never really worked together like in the same office. Angie has a passion for solving the problem of oral care and oral health in long-term care facilities for dependent adults. And she has started a business based on that. The reason that she started this business is because the laws in most states don't allow dental hygienists to go into a nursing home to clean anybody's teeth. Actually, when we were going through school, and I think we still had the same teachers, we were told explicitly that as a dental hygienist, we were not allowed to even brush and floss our own parents' teeth in a nursing home. Do you remember having that lesson?
Yes.
So she had a lot of work to do to try to figure out a way and why why dental hygienists need to be in nursing homes, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. Angie Stone, welcome to The Spot for Health.
Thank you, Shirley. Thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure to be together.
Well, this is a topic that really needs a lot more attention, and the reason it needs a lot more attention is because people have so many more teeth when they're going into these care facilities, and it's a real problem.
It is. I mean, if you think about our parents and maybe not even our parents, but our grandparents, they came to the end of their life with not many teeth. I mean, just by nature of what kind of dentistry they were accustomed to. People weren't just going to the dentist for prevention. They were going when they had something that hurt, right?
Right.
And then what was the solution? The solution was just to take it out. And so the older people in the previous generations just didn't have many teeth, and if they didn't have any, they had dentures. But as you said, we're keeping our teeth now. Think of my parents all have a full complement of teeth. We all have a full complement of teeth. What baby boomer
hasn't spent thousands of dollars to keep their teeth in their head?
Exactly, where they're supposed to be.
Exactly. So I graduated in 1986 from MATC, and you graduated
not until 97.
97. Okay. Mm-hmm. So at that time, after that time, when we saw patients that would come to the dental office from the nursing home, mm-hmm. I know I was irate. I was irate because they would have so much debris on their teeth, and really what we're now calling a biomass. Mm-hmm. It was festered. It was, this is so gross. It was old food. They were always late for their appointment, and they had all these special needs that we had to take into account. We never were on time after they left.
Yep.
Is that your experience
Yes,
too?
absolutely, absolutely. There's so many things that we, as dental hygienists in a clinical setting of a dental office, we oftentimes will cringe.
Oh, yeah.
When we see a dependent elder in our schedule. And it's simply because all the things you were just telling me, you know, and then also we're taught to look up all their medications in the physician desk reference, the PDR.
Yeah.
We should start that 3 weeks before the patient arrives, right?
But their medications change every day.
Yeah.
And then, did you get mad at the CNAs?
Of course.
Oh man, I remember writing letters, like long letters. This person needs to have their teeth brushed after every meal. They need to have their teeth flossed, blah, blah, blah. Then I went to Marquette and I really took a deep dive into what was happening in long-term care.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized that the CNAs have no education in taking care of people's teeth. They're taught maybe for a half an hour, typically. And that's what you and I started to share this kind of information.
Absolutely.
And you went and shadowed CNAs.
I did shadow the CNA, and it's insane. It's insane. They are good at a whole bunch of things that they're taught to do. And as you mentioned, they have 30 minutes of how to brush someone else's teeth and 30 minutes of the why. And I've gone into certified nursing assistant programs and have taught them how to do this. And I get 1 hour of time. And it's something that a dental hygienist has spent at least 2 years. You know, 2 years learning how to do this, and then, you know, bringing it back to the hygienist being angry. It's like, yeah, we're angry because we know that things should be better, but we don't understand the world of the CNA.
No,
and
no.
once you job shadow,
Yep.
once you hang out with the CNAs, and they're going from emergency to emergency, and it's like, no, sorry, the oral health.
They just don't think about it.
Nope.
It's not high on their priority list. And they know that they can go a day or two without brushing their teeth. So, you know, it's not high on their priority list.
Right.
But once I started to really look at that, then I was like, okay, so really we have 2 years of education, 2 years of how to brush other people's teeth and what their needs are, what their dental needs are. And the CNAs don't. So we need to take professional responsibility for the care of these people in long-term care. So what happened to me is I didn't know anybody that was in a long-term care facility. I had one old aunt and nobody liked her, so whatever happened to her. She's gone now.
Oh my
But
gosh.
you had some really close family members that really, when you start talking about it, I hope maybe that somebody have some puffs here, because it's a tearjerker with Gladys, your mother-in-law.
Yeah, it is. So Gladys had COPD, which is pulmonary disease, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. And what happens is you can't breathe. And once you can't breathe and you can't move around, you can't walk, you can't really very well take care of yourself. And so as things diminished for her, she ended up in a nursing home. And before she went to the nursing home, I was treating her periodontal disease, right, in the dental office.
Okay.
So I'm keeping her teeth healthy, and I'm trying to, you know, mouth is connected to the body. Hello.
Yeah.
And we know that the mouth can definitely affect the lungs. So now miraculously, she's in the nursing home, and I'm scared to death to touch her mouth, because I was what I like to call a baby hygienist, had been out of school about 3 years, and was scared to death because of the laws that had been drummed into my head of you can't do anything without being supervised by a dentist. So what I did is I just watched. I stood by and watched. Her lungs would be reinfected and reinfected and reinfected, and nobody even thought about what was going on in her mouth. And I know that had I been able to take care of her mouth, she would have been healthier. Her lungs wouldn't have been infected. Could I have saved her life? No. Could I have improved the quality of her life? Yes. Might I have been able to lengthen her life? Yes, but I didn't.
You know, that story just makes me want to say she died stupid. You know, everybody's going to die. This is not morning conversation or even Saturday morning conversation. But, you know, we all do come to the end of our life at some point, and nobody would choose to go that way. And nobody would spend thousands of dollars on their oral health and replacing teeth and then go to a nursing home and nobody is even brushing their teeth during the week, and it's not because they're not doing it. The residents in long-term care can be combative. And so it's not an easy job. It's not like when a 3-year-old, you just pin them down and you just go at it. With these people in long-term care, they have all of these other kind of problems, and it can result in respiratory illnesses, as with your mother-in-law, but it also melts teeth directly, as your grandmother story shows, where she lost how many teeth in 3 years?
60%. 60% of my grandmother's teeth were lost in a 24-month period, in 2 years. 60% of the teeth she had in her mouth for 90 years were lost in 2 years.
So let's show the picture before we go any further, because she's in the center picture in this little collage of 3 that we have, and this is the picture that we have of her just before she went into the care facility, right? Like a month or 2 or something?
Yeah, that's right. She was just had gotten there, I believe. She had just gotten to the care facility, and my aunties took her to the Jefferson County Fair, and so behind her is a cow. How appropriate is that for Wisconsin? She grew up on a farm, and she loved being around the animals, so they took her to the fair. And
well, this picture is so great because you can really see she had all of her teeth, and then 2 years later, they were pretty much melted off.
Right.
And the nursing home was much further away for you to visit as often as you wanted to. But that's the kind of thing that motivated you. And then you had a little test patient. Of the 3 pictures there, one was your test patient. So what did you decide to do?
So what I knew, when Gladys died, I vowed that I was going to make a difference, and I had really no idea what that even meant. But Shirley was able to teach me a lot of things once we connected up, so I owe a lot to Shirley for this whole thing. Once I found Ed, he was a longtime patient in my dental office, and he came in. We all know the kind. You know, we start to see them if we've been a dental hygienist in a practice for a long time. You know, we start to see them. They're older, but they're good. And then as the years go on, they start to deteriorate. So Ed first would come with a cane, and then the next few times later, then he came with a walker, and then he ended up with a wheelchair. And I'm just watching this happen. And the last time that I saw him in my dental practice, something had changed drastically with his oral health. And there was plaque everywhere. There was some food debris. His gums were bleeding. I'd never seen that before. And I was like, what happened, right? So I asked Ed, I'm like, Ed, what is going on? Something is markedly different. And he looked at me and said, Angie, I'm in the nursing home. And my wife is no longer there to help me with my oral care. And a whole bunch of sirens went off in my head, and I'm like, no, I've seen this twice. It's not going to happen to me on my watch again, you know, so I'm taking responsibility for this gentleman, right?
A stranger, really. He's just a patient.
Right, he's a patient, and I've seen him every 6 months for, you know, X amount of years. And so I'd been reading, we had done our research already, Shirley, with the xylitol, so I knew that the xylitol products were going to help control the bacteria in his mouth. And then we had also read some research talking about professional brushing.
Yeah.
Once a week. Okay, professional brushing once a week could help reduce the risk of aspiration pneumonia, could keep the teeth healthier. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I know what I can do for Ed. And so, long story short, I started going to see Ed once a week in the nursing home, brushing and cleaning between his teeth, and the care team would administer xylitol to him several times a day. And in 2 years that I saw him, you know the story.
I do. He did not lose 60% of his teeth. He did not lose 1% of his teeth.
No cavities.
The whole time.
The whole time. And no bleeding gums the entire time. And it was magical. It was magical. And so that's when I really got on fire about this whole thing. It's like, dental disease is preventable.
Yeah.
I mean, we do a really good job of preventing it. And those of us who can take care of ourselves, we can do a good job. If you brush and you clean between the teeth and you're diligent with your snacking and things like that, maybe you're adding some xylitol in or some mouthwashes, whatever your regimen is, if you can do it yourself, we're pretty good.
Right, and I'm very taken by your term cleaning between the teeth. You have never once mentioned the F word. So is that something that, what are you saying there? Are you saying that we shouldn't floss, or that you don't floss, or what are you saying? What's going on?
What's going on? So, you know, flossing is like I don't even know what word to use for the hygienist. It's like, you know, it's all about floss, 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 floss.
Right, it's our go-to.
It's our go-to. And
It's our automatic pilot.
oftentimes, flossing with some of our residents just doesn't do well enough, right? So we use a variety of interdental brushes, and you know, we want to get between the teeth and between the gums because we want to get the stuff out from between the teeth. But that doesn't have to be done just with floss, and particularly as we age, and if the gum tissues are kind of, you know, going away, receding,
sure.
The brushes work way better than the floss because the floss isn't even wide enough to clean all those spaces out. So when we talk about our services, we say flossing and between the teeth cleaning. And it's with over-the-counter products. We're not using dental hygiene instruments or anything like that. It's over-the-counter products that a nursing assistant would have access to and use to.
So you mentioned the study that we did, and I want to kind of talk about that a little bit because for a lot of reasons. One big reason is that studies are seriously expensive, and most people don't take it upon themselves to do a study because they think they need a university, they need a pile of money, they need this, they need that. But what you really need is two people with a lot of passion and a little bit of influence with a company. And what we did then was we designed a study where the CNAs would do one thing different, and that was to provide the residents in this particular care facility with a xylitol product 3 times a day and a special cream paste, which they hardly used. They put it onto the resident's finger to mush around, and that's a whole nother topic for another day. But the xylitol protocol was very simple. We had a 70% compliance rate, which is absolutely unheard of. And, you know, they had to self-report. And I always say, okay, so they self-reported. So what if it was only half right? So that's still 35% compliance rate, which is still unheard of. And what did we find?
Oh my gosh.
It was unbelievable. It was 3 months. So what, we didn't get paid.
No.
We just got a company to spry, the spry stuff that we have over at Primal Air, and they just provided us with candy, and the residents were given candy 3 times a day. I'll let you. I'll let you finish.
How hard is that?
I don't know.
You know, I mean,
I don't know.
So I don't know, Shirley, you remember the way that this went down, but you were teaching me about xylitol, and I was like, Shirley, really, I am so over this xylitol stuff, right? And so I'm like, you know what, I have a plan. And she's like, what's that? And I said, well, let's see if this stuff really works. And she was like, Angie, there's a lot of research that says it works. I'm like, I know, but I want to see it for myself. And she goes, oh, okay, well, what do you have in mind? I said, well, we're going to do a study, and you're going to design the study, and then I will help implement it at the care level at the facility. And Shirley's like, oh, that sounds great. I'm like, but there's one glitch here. And she's like, what? And I said, if we prove that this worked, you have me for the rest of my entire life about xylitol. And she's like, okay. And I said, on the other side of the coin, if we don't prove anything, you agree to shut up about xylitol to me, right? And in true Shirley fashion, she says, game on. And so what we proved, though, was amazing, right?
Oh, it was crazy.
The amount of plaque and biomass, biofilm that we removed from these patients' mouths with simply giving them candy was incredible. And we have pictures. I don't know if you have any pictures.
Oh, we're not showing those. It might be breakfast for some people. I did
Shirley.
not send those along.
Oh, Shirley hates the gross pictures, but to me, that's what really tells the story of what we're doing. When you can see where these people were at in the beginning, and where
Yes.
they were at the end,
Just from candy.
just from candy, is really what gets people on fire. And they're like, oh my gosh, if it's really truly this easy, let's make this happen.
And then we started to talk about it to everybody. We went separately and together. We spoke at a conference in Cancun about our study. We had it published in an integrative health publication with the pictures. And that was a trick too, because it wasn't subsidized by a company and because we didn't have university backing, we were not able to do things like scrape this junk off of people's teeth, dry it, and weigh it so that we would have a real good measurable outcome. And so it was hard to show anything unless you had these photographs. And the nursing journals were like, eh. And it was a trick. It took us 2 or 3 years to find somebody to do it, and it was because of Cancun, and you were whining from the stage. please,
I was not whining. I was asking for
you were
help.
passionate.
I
and
was
asking for help.
pleading. I'm like, you know
Yes.
what? We've done something great here, and this is what we were hoping is this would be just a start point, just a jump off point where we proved something, and then maybe someone at a university that had some backing or things like that would
take it up.
pick it up and do a subsequent bigger study. But we did that too, didn't we?
We did. We modified that study to see what the weekly brushing and flossing would do in conjunction with the xylitol. And we have a picture of that too, because you're good about taking pictures.
Well, I try. I'm the portfolio queen, right?
Yes.
And I teach people when they're applying for jobs to do the portfolio. And so there's a picture up now of our second study where we actually put dental hygienists in 3 facilities or 4 facilities over 3 states. And I think we had about 45 residents, and we implemented this protocol of brushing weekly by a registered dental hygienist and then also providing xylitol. And what we were able to achieve in that study, the results were absolutely phenomenal as well. That one remains to be published yet. We haven't.
Yeah, that one
really
hasn't seen the light of day yet in paper. But because of that, you started a little business, and well, it's not little anymore, but so you've hired dental hygienists to do this protocol. And one in particular kind of shines in my mind that there's probably other stories, but she was using this protocol on her own mother in Illinois that has the same laws, and she had to get over that same hurdle of, yes, I can brush people's teeth. And her mother in the nursing home had monthly urinary tract infections. And after she started this protocol, she was down to 1 in 18 months. Were those the numbers?
Yes, yes.
I mean, it's
yes.
just one story, but
Yes.
it's something.
It's absolutely incredible what all can happen when you don't have good oral health and then when you do have good oral health. It is so vitally important, and we take it for granted. And I think that the general population thinks that as you age, there are many options to get help. And I'll tell you that there aren't many options, especially if you're on Medicaid. You can pretty well forget about getting access to care. Not a lot of dental offices in the area will even accept Medicaid for payment. And so you're really pretty much just squandering to get any care. So again, we're going back to prevention. That's what my company does. We are the prevention specialists, and we are the guardians of these dependent elders' oral health.
That's awesome. We never said the name of it. We're just keeping everybody in suspense. So you have a really cool name, but unless you see it written out, and I hope that we've got a slide of the window of your office there, it's called
HyLife.
But not like marijuana HyLife.
No. Well, that might be kind of fun. But really, it's hygiene. So I like to kind of mix words. I learned that at Career Fusion, which is something that is awesome that Shirley is a part of. But mixing words can kind of sometimes get some more, someone to look at it a little bit closer. So HyLife, it's hygiene and life combined. And you really, if you want a quality of life throughout your entire life, you cannot you cannot let the hygiene go, and whether that's with your mouth or whether it's anywhere, right? So the name of the company is HyLife, and we're bringing oral health.
And you see, so you have a bunch of oral care specialists that go out, and it's not just Wisconsin. You've got them in other states, and they will come to the facility and brush and interdental clean and provide the xylitol every week. And then the nursing assistants don't, it's not that they don't have to brush the teeth in between. We encourage them to continue to do what they're doing, you do, and then just have to give them the xylitol a few times a day. Is it still 3 times a day, or is it more?
It is 3 times a day. It is 3 times a day. So we encourage that xylitol usage about after every meal, or if there's 3 med passes during the day, the people can just integrate it with the med pass. And so yes, right now we have 17 oral care specialists in 6 states, and they are providing brushing and between the teeth cleaning and xylitol to dependent adults no matter where they live. I have a couple that are still in their own homes, and I have some at assisted living and some in memory care. Memory care is really becoming our market. It seems like the families who have their loved ones in memory care are really, really concerned with keeping them as healthy as what they can. So once they learn about our services, they are like, yes, please, come and take care of my loved one's oral health, so that we don't have to deal with how you're going to get someone with disabilities out to a dental office. How are you going to have someone who can't communicate with you accept dental treatment? How can they even sit in the chair?
Right.
They can't. So again, we've got to back this all up to prevention, and that's what HyLife does.
And that's what dental hygienists do.
That's what dental hygienists do.
We've got hours and hours, over 2,000 hours, almost 3, I don't remember anymore, 1,000 hours on how to clean somebody's teeth and why. So to expect somebody to do that with just a few minutes, or even nurses, they're busy too. And they have specialists coming to these care facilities for everything from hair washing to toenail clipping, and that the dental hygienist is not really allowed to do their full scope of practice, or even just brush and floss these people's teeth is really...
Right, so let's talk about that for just a second. So you use the term oral care specialist, and that's what the people that are on my team are. They have a designation of oral care specialists. They are hygienists, and they are also certified caregivers. And so when we go into the facilities, yes, we're hygienists. We're the best people on the face of the planet to be providing the service, because of, like Shirley said, all of our experience, and most of us have over 20 years of hanging around in a dental office cleaning teeth. We are also certified caregivers. So when we're providing this care, we are giving care, but we only focus on dental health.
Thank you, Angie, so much for joining me here on the Spot for Health. This is a really important topic, and I'm sorry we didn't get you here sooner, but I'm sure we're going to get you back again to talk more about how oral care impacts systemic health in our dependent population, because there's a lot of people going there. So, as usual, this is Shirley Gutkowski for the Spot for Health, letting the community know where to go for their health care in Sun Prairie. And I'd like to also let you know to share these shows, because if you're watching it on the internet, it's super easy to share. If you're watching it on the cable television channel, go to your computer and share these episodes, because they're important. I think they're important information. If I didn't think it was important, I wouldn't be here. I'm not an egomaniac, I swear. Shirley Gutkowski signing off for Spot for Health.